Greetings. Thank you very much for joining us. You are watching This Is My Health. You know, in this show, we go out of our way to give you information that we hope will empower you to look after yourself and be able to join us and say, this is my health, not outsourcing it, making sure that I look after myself. In this season, we are still looking at HIV and AIDS and issues that are related to HIV and AIDS. One of the things that really bother us about stigma and discrimination is that it makes people not want to go for testing for their HIV. That is why it is very important for us to be conscious of what we are doing or not doing that will be spreading the HIV by people not knowing. Anyway, I have two special guests today who are going to be joining me to help me unpack this. Today, I actually have a pastor. Come in. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
And Enes, this is going to be happy. Please have a seat. I like to meet people at the restaurant here. Well, it's a cafe. And that's one of the reasons. Because unlike in the office, I will not have anything to offer you. What would you like to have?
I'll just have a fruit salad and a glass of water.
Oh, okay. And would you like something yourself?
Yes, I would like to have fruit and fruit salad.
Ah, okay, good. Now, I've asked you to come so that we can talk about the issue of, thank you, maybe, stigma and discrimination. And why I wanted to have a pastor and also to have a nurse is because you are representing two great institutions. Thank you, my dear. Yes. So, what is stigma in your opinion? Let's start with you.
Stigma is the way people see in a person that is negative and brings shame to the person.
And discrimination? What would you say discrimination is as a pastor?
I would actually use the definition she used for stigma for discrimination because it carries a negative connotation to it. I think from the pastoral side, I would say stigma is not necessarily always in the negative. It is simply a differentiation.
So when we say stigma and discrimination, we are saying separation and negativity. Okay. Now, in the context of health, would you know what conditions do we normally stigmatize or discriminate people against?
Yeah. You know, mental illness, HIV and AIDS.
Yes.
Cancer, diabetes. You find that especially in villages, when somebody, we find that the leg has been cut off. He had diabetes.
Okay.
He had the disease of the sugar.
What is it that make us discriminate or stigmatize and discriminate people with those conditions? You talked about mental health. You talked about HIV. You didn't say headache. You didn't say backache. What is it about those conditions? We start with you. I'm sure you are going to have a few verses for us.
Yeah. These conditions, we take mental health. This is whereby either my mental aspect has been affected, right? The way I behave, the way I treat myself, you find that it's different from a normal person. Obviously, as soon as people see me not behaving the way they do, they question, how is this person behaving that way? HIV and AIDS is associated with the sexual behavior. Most of the time, if they get, this one is HIV positive, they'll think, it's either he was promiscuous or a prostitute or something. They forget that some people get it because they were taking care of their relatives, their children, and so forth. And also, it can be transmitted through blood infection.
Maybe somebody was getting a blood transfusion, and then they get that.
Yeah.
So, or maybe you are born with it.
Maybe
because in this day and age, whilst all effort is being made to prevent, there are still those who unfortunately are born with HIV.
True that.
So would you say it's ignorance that tends to drive stigma and discrimination?
True. Because people really don't understand You know, when they would understand why or the causes that led to this person having this HIV infection, they would behave better or treat that person better than the misconceptions that they have about it.
Now, looking at the people in the church, the assumption is that we are brothers and sisters and we love each other. How come we still end up having this issue of stigma and discrimination in church?
It's a very interesting question, Masikwa. I think if we take note of what Mangabe said earlier, stigma somehow is associated also to a sense of morality. She brought about the questions, what did this person do to deserve this thing? And these are things that we even see in the Bible. If you recall, there is that verse where there was a blind man, and when Jesus was asked about him, the disciples asked, is it him who sinned, or is it the
man is blind, and people are thinking about sin.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is that, in as much as we are brothers and sisters in Christ, we always default to our natural fallen being, where we associate a condition with morality, right or wrong. And based on our understanding or lack of understanding thereof, we then make judgments and decisions that may not be informed, which actually harm the person by discriminating them as opposed to helping them. I think as we continue the discussion, we're going to see how we can turn that around and be true brothers and sisters. But I think there's an issue of a misconception of morality as well as motivation and attitude towards the people that are affected by these things.
Okay. Now, I want to just pick your brain on that one of issue of morality. I can almost understand with HIV from what she said. How is it that people of mental health, what is moral about mental health? I'm intrigued by that, because with HIV, yes, I hear it is sexual promiscuity and whatever, which are being the allegations. But when it comes to mental health, why is it that people of mental health are being discriminated against by the brethren?
You want to take that one?
If you don't know, it's okay. We can leave it out there.
I will suppose, or rather, I will propose that sometimes the issue of morality is not necessarily what did the other person do, but more a case of what makes me look better.
Exactly.
In the sense that if I can see a weakness in you, then if I don't possess that weakness, somehow I might be elevated by that status.
So there's a holier than thou in the biblical sense.
That is a possibility for some of these conditions.
I don't know, you wanted to...
And we should not forget that stigma dates back to those times of the Israelites. You remember the disease leprosy?
Yes.
People who were leprotic were staying outside the walls of Jerusalem. They were stigmatized. They would not even mingle with, even if there is their family members. So that tells us that leprosy is not even a mental issue.
Yeah, but wasn't the issue with leprosy about infection? Wasn't it the issue like you are saying, isolation taken to an extreme case, like we do with TB? In our times, we have had the TB clinics where people can be kept there. So anyway, I thought about it and thought with leprosy, perhaps it was the matter that thing was highly contagious, which is why I was asking to say, with mental health, what is it then? But I think I like what the pastor is saying. He said it probably has something to do. And, you know, with holier than thou. And one of the conditions that I've heard is being stigmatized that I didn't hear mentioned is epilepsy. Because I found out that people, if you came with your son brought some girl and said, oh no, mommy, I want to get married to this girl, but she has epilepsy. You see what I'm saying? The first reaction is like, are you sure you'll manage? You see, so there is that aspect of it. But anyway, before we get too much onto all the definitions and the like, what are some of the ways that we show stigma? Because it's all academic. But how do we show stigma as people? Because sometimes we are stigmatized and we are discriminating, we're not even realizing that we are doing. What are some of the examples?
We call them by certain names. We stereotype them as they come and say, hey, parents always tell me this behavior I don't like. We name call them. Yeah. And it really is distasteful. It keeps them to be isolated, to be withdrawn. They cannot associate. Even when we are on the table, we would not want even them to sit down with us on the table.
I like that, because the first one is about talking. Now is the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we push them to the back that they can't sit with us.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you know you are we are discriminating.
And there's also an element of rejection. Yeah. Whatever they want to do, we don't credit anything. Most of the time, we put them down so that whatever they do, they see it like they are worthless. And they end up being pushed further to a state of hopelessness.
Now, we want to go for a short break because our time has just flown. Yes. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. Welcome back. If you're only joining us now, we missed quite a bit. We are looking at the issue of stigma and discrimination in this season where we are talking HIV and AIDS. But we have observed that stigma and discrimination is not just unique to HIV and AIDS, but that there are a number of medical conditions like mental health, like epilepsy, like leprosy, that people also have been stigmatized against. But then we would like to continue to look at what are those things that we do without maybe even realizing that we are discriminating against people and stigmatizing them on the basis of their medical condition. In the studio, I'm with Pastor and their MS, and they are helping us to unpack this. Welcome, Pastor Singh.
Oh, thank you.
And welcome, Manka. Okay. Yes. Before we left, you had just told us about two issues where stigma can be shown by words and discrimination, and then it can be shown also by action, not wanting to sit with the person who has got the thing that we believe sets them apart. Now, are there other things on your side that you'd like to look at?
I would just like to add on to that, the default settings, if I may put it like that. To be a good person, to be a loving person, as you said earlier, are we not brothers and sisters in the church?
Yes.
It actually takes effort to be a loving person. So sometimes the reason why we subconsciously discriminate and stigmatize is the very fact that we are not aware that we must put in an effort to fight against that natural instinct to discriminate. There is nothing that is good that comes naturally from us. Even our righteousness is as filthy rags. So the only way we can battle these subconscious actions or words is if we actually make an effort that I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and make this person feel included, as opposed to feeling stigmatized and discriminated.
I like that. Fast forward to solutions. Step back a bit. You have told us about the conscious thing, because what I'm trying to look at is there are things that we are doing and we don't know we are doing them. Can you mention some of those things? I like what you have said, that you don't want to sit and eat with the person that has got this condition. I think when I gave an example of marriage, we don't want to be associated in marriage with some of those people. What are some of the other things that we don't want to do?
Sometimes it might be even lack of visitation. We don't even visit the people.
Exactly.
Also, failure to involve them.
Yes. So when we are in a setup where somebody has got skills, their condition seems to outweigh even their skills.
Yes. At times we even speak for them. Not necessarily that we are speaking for them, but we want to avoid them being involved.
In talking.
Yes.
When we say that, it makes me think especially about mental health. You know, one hears so often about people with mental health being, people taking things from them because they are not allowed to speak for their rights. As if being depressed doesn't mean you can't think for yourself. but you actually can. I think that's a very important one to think about. What about what other issues? Maybe like in the church. What sort of areas do they have? Sorry?
No, like you're pointing out in the church, identity. She mentioned the issue of name calling. Maybe not just calling them by name, but also identifying them. Whoever with this condition.
Yes.
And that subconsciously emphasizes in us that we identify this person by the condition or by whatever.
So you say the cripple, the blind, the lame, and you never even get to know their name.
The one who stammers.
Yes.
And yet they have their names.
They have their names. So discrimination, whilst it may be big on the HIV and AIDS, it seems to be part of our nature, as you have said, Pastor. Now let's look at the issues from a church perspective. Let's look at the issues of baptism. If you, as a pastor, were to be conducting a baptism and you found out that 50% of the people who are coming in are HIV and they're getting into water with you, how would you feel?
That's a very interesting one. It's very easy for me to speak because now it is a hypothetical situation.
Yes.
But the reality of the matter is, whatever condition somebody else is suffering from that you are not suffering from, there's always a sense of fear that comes about how you're going to be affected. So I think backtracking to what I said earlier, the reason why I say stigma sometimes is positive is because sometimes by recognizing the condition of the people who are going to be there, you will take the appropriate steps to help them with the condition that they are in.
Yes.
So it's not a case of if we now make special arrangements, it means that now we are negatively discriminating. But it is rather we're taking care and measure the same way in a hospital you would with gloves and the like to take care of them.
I think I like that. I like that because we are saying if I am going to wash the feet of somebody who has told me that I have HIV and I can see that they've got sores in their feet, it is not discrimination to wear gloves. No. You are saying that, right? Because the feet needs to be washed. Discrimination perhaps would be me saying, no, I can't wash their feet, they're HIV. But if I bring my gloves and I wash the person's feet, I have done what I need to do. I've recognized them as a person and washed their feet. Yeah, I think I like that.
I don't even know if I'm going to be rushing again. I get excited when we talk about these things because when you mention the issue of, I mentioned attitude earlier on. You are a Christian, meaning that you know that you are created in the image of God by creation, and you have been redeemed by God through his precious blood. You are valued by that blood. And when you become a Christian, you now identify all other people as created in the image of God. So even as you take those precautions towards a person, those precautions should never take precedence over making the person know that they are valued. You know, there's a story that is often told by pastors about a certain man who went to an island where there were some leprous people, and he did not have the instruments to really take care of them the way he would in a developed hospital. So he took care of them until a point where he even got the leprosy himself, and he died, and those people kept him in the village, in the island, as a sign of their appreciation that this man stepped out of his way. So what I'm saying is don't be reckless, but at the same time, don't let issues of stigma and discrimination prevent you from showing people that they are valued and they are loved by God.
Okay, that's very nice. Yes, you wanted to add something there?
No, I just want to say we need to be deliberate, especially as Christians. Recognizing that we are creation of God. Whatever comes in, we need to realize that as long as God is with us, we need to be guided into doing the right thing. As we are saying that putting on gloves is not discrimination. It is better to prevent. Because if all of us get infected, who's going to
look after the
animals? So we need to be very, very careful. And we need to be deliberate about educating each other on this, that this is not discriminating. It's even helping this person. Because you don't even know what I have.
That's
though it's not seen on the outside.
You don't know what it is. I think, of course, because I have a pastor here, I just chose to deliberately take it into the church setting. Mm-hmm. But I want to believe that that must be also going for home, that even at home, if I have to look after a patient, a loved one who has got some conditions, it is not discriminatory to be taking the precaution to take on the gloves. Because I remember in the COVID time, there were people who were struggling, not wanting to have masks at home. And that's how COVID was spreading inside the homes. Yeah. So I think I like what you are saying, that we've got to realize that taking precaution, it's not discrimination. It's not. Yes. Now, I want to take a different direction. Pastors, we are aware as people who work with people, HIV and the like, that when young people want to get married, you encourage them to go and get tested for their HIV. Why? Is it to come and tell them, no, don't marry him. You know that he's got HIV. Why do you do that?
It's for transparency reasons.
Okay.
You know, in Genesis chapter 2, when God creates Eve and brings into the man, he now says, the two shall become one flesh. You know everything about you. So when you get married to somebody else, you must know them as much as possible, the way that you know yourself. So getting to know the condition of the other partner, whether they have cancer in their family, whether they themselves have HIV or the like, it is so that you make a very deliberate decision that this is going to be my wife and we're going to be together to battle this thing together. The worst thing you can do for somebody that you're getting married to is to lead them in blind. Because that's where we're having a whole lot of issues. People are going even beyond the issues of medical conditions. Financially, they're going into marriages without telling their partners that they have debt. And we know what there's even stigma and discrimination based on poverty.
Yes.
You know, these things are not just health related.
You don't marry anybody.
Exactly. So that's the reason why we encourage, be transparent, know each other, and make sure you go in there deliberately so you know how to take care of one another.
And as a counselor, once the two of them have tested and she is HIV positive, is it important now that the whole family should be called and told, I'm getting married, but my wife?
No. Counseling is helping people to make their own decisions. So it's a wise decision to make these two to know their own status. These are the only people who are going to be living together. Yes, they have a family around them. But these two, after they have digested the issue of the other person being negative, the other being positive, what is important is for them to really get to know how are they going to face this issue. Are they parting or are they continuing? If they are continuing, then they are saying, as long as we live together, we are going to help one another, that this one remains negative and this one, at least since there's treatment, he will support her through and through. So then after they are now settled, they have digested it, they have acknowledged it, that's when now they can involve some relatives if they decide.
It's not mandatory.
No. They will involve other people because they may need them one way or another as they go in.
Thank you very much. Can you imagine our time has run out? So you've got just half a minute each to say your final words. Starting with you. You like the topic so much that the time is gone.
Imagine. But in conclusion, I will say the only way that we can defeat the issue of negative stigma and discrimination is if we go about it in the nature and the character of Christ. Look at the life of Christ. Somebody with leprosy, you read that in Matthew chapter 8 as well as Mark chapter 1. He even touched somebody with leprosy because Jesus' mission was always restoration. And even us as his followers, our mission is to restore people. We may not be able to fully restore them in their physical conditions, but we are supposed to restore them in their relationship with Christ, because we know as believers that there is life that is coming beyond the grave. So let us value one another as people who have been created in the image of Christ, and let us imitate Christ in moving with love towards other people. If we do that, we'll achieve a lot.
Spoken like a true pastor. Any final words from you, ma'am?
Thank you. As a counselor, as a care worker, it is important to appreciate the other person, understanding that we are all created after God's image. You know, giving out love, sharing and giving all to this person who is discriminated may take this person to higher heights and understand and live better until Christ comes. I think that's the spirit we should hold.
Thank you very much. Well said. And thank you for stopping by. There you have it, folks. We can't put it any other way. If you are a Christian and you are watching this, ask yourself, am I behaving like Christ towards those that are different from me? Especially those that are differentiated by things that are seen negatively in the society. There is no textbook out there that's going to teach us how to be kind to one another. A lot of these things, they come out with character, they come out with naturally. Sometimes it comes out from the environment we live in. But you have to purpose within yourself to say, I am going to be loving. I am going to be caring. I am going to be the Christian that Christ was, loving the unlovable, doing all that he can to ease the pain of others. Ask yourself, the behavior that you are displaying towards your brother or your sister in Christ, at work, at home, is that Christian? Could you be discriminated? May God help us to be the Christian that we need to be the loving people that we can be, and to truly ease each other's burden. Please keep watching. We will be back with more issues to discuss. Until then, God bless. This is